Were you gonna ask me something?
No.
I think for me, like, there's so many individuals I want to make paintings of, and there's no time for me to go out and to have an 87-year-old man stand in his underwear outside for hours and months on end. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, obviously.
So I use photography in most of everything that I do because out of necessity.
It's like a studio tool.
Yeah.
Instead of right.
Yeah.
Instead of hiring a figure,
I wouldn't necessarily be able to make any of these paintings without photography. I could use my memory, but they would be totally different. And I want to document individuals
and
for longevity. And honor them. But the longevity of this, I think this has so much more power to it than printing out a photograph from this situation. A lot of when I'm making a portrait of somebody, I'm trying to think about their presence, and it's changed over time. But in this case, in a lot of the images I've made, I've tried to paint somebody close to life size. So when you see the painting in real, you're confronted by it, and you have to look at that person and think about, well, who is that guy? And why is he standing in this doorway? And what is this weird
paint truck?
Yeah, like, what is it? Like, I want the viewer to ask questions on the what and the why, and why is this person important, and so to make a large scale painting of that individual, I'm giving importance to that person. Important to me.
Right.
Right. I do observational drawing and painting a little bit, which I really enjoy, but
I have one of your drawings.
Yeah?
Yeah. I have a little drawing of some of my tattoo machines.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those were done from photos.
Never mind.
They were.
Damn it.
They were.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm happier. I think because I want to make so many images, I want to make so many pictures that if I wasn't using photography, I would make 2 paintings a year. Right now, I make 40 to 70 pieces a year. And I had a year where I made 156 paintings. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that if I was
right all the time. Right, you spend so much time.
Either teaching or traveling or tattooing. And we have a decent social life. Like, I have a good balance of everything, and I
don't believe you, but that's okay.
Hey, man, I get around. These kids in the checker cab.
Right.
That was an epic trip from Stuttgart, Germany to London with, heroes of mine and many folks in the community. And it was a once-in-a-lifetime, really enjoyable experience. And how do you show that in a painting? Like, there's a zillion ways to do it, and I couldn't, if I tried to take a photo of that, which in one image, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's having a starting point, having a loose idea of what the composition is going to be, and then allowing myself to edit and adjust and change. And a couple times I almost cropped that painting, restretched it. I've done that in the past where just the composition isn't working and I need to adjust it. Or I'll take a figure totally out. It's case by case. I usually have a good idea of what the composition is going to be. This painting of Lie on the Wagon, I'll do this often where it's a couple different images. Mm-hmm. Where if I like the figure or the pose in one photo and then what's happening here in another photo, I'll just Photoshop it together, and then through my observational drawing skills, I'm trying to make it look believable, whether it is or not.
Right.
Because the camera, especially in the past, fish eyes a little bit. So I want it to look more real than the photo could make it. So I'm changing the image in the drawing from what the photo looks like. I'm also trying to think about the physical 3-dimensional forms of the objects that are in the image when I'm painting it. I'm not interested. I don't want to say I hate. I'm completely not interested in photorealism. Like, it's cool, but I'm not trying to do that at all. Even though when people look at them, they're like, oh, it looks like a photo. Fuck. It's not. Yeah, I'm using photos, but it's not the point.
Right.
The point is, this is a painting about Lyle standing in his wagon. You know, if I made it looser, and maybe if I just drew it. Because for the most part, I print out my images the size of the canvas or panel, and then I do a transfer.
Right, that way you can get proportions right, and they're really like kind of accurate, so you recognize who the person is right away instead of like, oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
right,
And somebody like Lyle's tattoos are so historical. Like, I don't want to freehand draw those on there. I mean, I painted his figure quite a bit before I added the tattoos on, but I'm still stenciling them on there because I want them to be accurate.
sit right and look good, be accurate.
And like I was talking earlier before we were filming, like I have multiple images of Lyle through his life where I can see his tattoos where they were crisper or brand new, so I can really understand what's underneath that black arm and mush. You know?
Right, before you kind of age it in the photo.
Or, yeah. Or what it looks like, say, 80 years old as opposed to 20 years old.
Right.
You know, I want to show the presence of that individual. You know, that portrait of the head study of you, I wanted to show your presence. You know, and
Yeah, it's got a different power.
it does.
Yeah, it's a different feel.
The portrait of you where you're just standing that Aaron has from a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
I'd known you a little bit, but not as much.
Right.
And I like the painting. I think it looks like you. I think it was a good representation of you, but it doesn't have the power of that portrait. You know?
Right, I understand what you mean.
And sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it takes me doing 8 paintings of Henry to get.
The one that really...
Yeah. I think the first one I did of him was the one, but...
Gotcha.
You know?
Right.
I'm considering all the classic ways paintings have been made throughout the years, and depending on the subject, I want to approach it in a way that's either loose or graphic or realistic or whatever it is. You know, I've done a couple self-portraits that have been pretty loose, where I feel like it's more about the tattoos on my body than my body itself, and I feel like I have more freedom in that because it doesn't matter what I look like, because it's me, and it's me doing it. Where if it's a painting of somebody else in there, like Adrian Lee, his tattoos are so iconic that Marcus put on his torso. Like, I don't want to stray from that. I want to mimic it, but also, like, Marcus is a painter. I want to show his aesthetic in recreating those tattoos that are on his body, and then thinking of Adrian's art, which I feel like in a lot of the paintings I've done, I'm thinking about his art and approaching the composition of the painting in context to the kind of work he makes. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And that's something you definitely can't do with a photograph. Well, not
But it's different.
different.
It's just different.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I mean, definitely is not the right word.
It's different.
It would be, right. You're not going to be able to be as...
He and I have talked about it over the years where, you know, he was making tattooed books of body pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you know, some of your early paintings influenced some of these photos that I took, where it's the multiple things. You know, it's like we're all inspiring each other,
right.
And it's not something new. There's an image over there. I don't know if you can see of Edgar Degas' Ironing Woman.
Yep.
A little bit of it's covered, but it's like her arms moving in that painting.
Oh, okay.
And it's showing movement in a way that wasn't done at the time, you know, like it's very simple, but it's still it's time passing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's the influence of art history on what I'm doing, you know. It definitely has. I'm not doing anything new.
Court, go for it. Go for what?
What's
What's in my mind?
I don't know, man. What haven't we talked about that you want to talk about? Did we miss something you thought we were going to talk about? You're like, man, I don't really want to talk about that. They didn't even ask me.
I think art through time has just it's it's changed so much. Like art wasn't, painters weren't artists until they called themselves artists. They were commissioned craftsmen and artisans who were making paintings of kings and queens
Right.
and religious themes to get people to believe the word. Like there was no television, there was no internet, there wasn't photography. So how do you get people to look at images that inspire them or convince them of something or give prominence to an individual? Like, I feel like by doing portraits of tattooers, I'm helping elevate our community, in a way that's always been done. I like that classic idea.
Right, because some of your favorite artists, I remember you telling me, like Rockwell, Leyendecker,
Yep.
American painters.
Yeah. They're
Obviously,
documenting.
they're amazing, but they're documenting like American life.
I'm a blue collar kid who grew up in a blue collar neighborhood with blue collar parents, and tattooing's a blue collar art form, and it makes sense to me personally to embrace this community because I've always been a part of it in a way, It's my people. And I appreciate times when individuals like give me gifts of like, hey, why don't you try this? Thomas Woodruff. I don't know if you saw the painting of him going down the stairs at the shop.
I don't remember.
He is somebody in the community who's been a part of it. His whole 30 years, whatever, however long.
Yeah.
And he dabbled in tattooing, but he's
Right.
influenced tattooing.
Right.
And he's got historical tattoos on his body. And I knew of his work through tattooing.
Right, of course. Tattoo time.
Yep. And through friends who've had him as an instructor.
Okay.
He runs the SVA's illustration department. And I reached out to Thomas, it was 2010, I think. It'd be great to make a painting of you. It's like, well, come to my home studio in upstate New York. So Kim and I drove there from a trip to New York, and he gave us a tour of his house, and we went to his studio, and he had an idea. He's like, I think you should do a nude of me. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I have this bouquet of flowers. And it was his idea.
Cool.
And,
cool.
and seeing the work that he had in the studio, there was a bunch of his paintings around, and there was one specifically of a floral arrangement and all these watermelons on the ground. I'm like, let's put that
In the
essentially behind you as
Right.
if you're in your own painting. So that was my contribution to his idea. But the composition itself of him being nude with that bouquet of flowers was all him. And, fortunately, there was a big green bow on it, and the bow, in the way that it sat in the image, looked like his genitals. It was kind of, it just worked out.
He's like, how did you manage that?
Yeah, just worked out. And maybe he planned it too. I don't know.
Maybe.
He's a smart guy.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Because I'm going into a situation, I don't have an agenda.
Right.
Would
And you're
not-
not, you're not looking for control. You're just
No.
let's see
I'm
what
looking to be a
happens.
fly on the wall.
Right. Right.
But also be engaged and be a part of the conversation, but not,
Influence it.
I don't want to direct it
Right.
at all. With Lyle, it's just this hanging out, drinking, smoking weed, and listening.
Yeah, I mean with Lyle, he's
Everything's all there.
he's such a special guy. All you got to do is wait for it.
Mhm.
He's gonna there's gonna be gems everywhere.
Yep. Yep.
Huh?
What you got?
I don't know.
Hey, every painting takes a different amount of time. This is one of the first paintings where I started documenting the time. Like on the side of the painting, I was doing, every day I worked on it, I put how many hours I worked on it.
Okay.
Because I do work fast. But there's the illusion of it looking like a finished picture in a short amount of time than it actually not being anywhere near being finished.
Right.
It's like, well, I need to render this. I need to develop this. I need to
Right.
give it volume. I need to...
Your experience lets you block it in a way that it feels fairly finished, but
Yep.
it's not.
No. And if I was a different kind of painter, like somebody like an Alice Neal or a David Hockney or somebody like that, who's doing a painting from life where it's about the gesture of that moment and that experience, like, they're not necessarily worried about the likeness as much.
Right.
You know, like I want this to look like what was happening that day.
Right.
It's just a different mindset. You know?
Creating a certain moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah. My process is taking photos of somebody, hanging out, spending time, and then coming back home and looking at those images and seeing what could become of those into a painted format.
Right.
And then scaling that image or images into a composition. And then I usually print out a section, usually the head, if it's a portrait, just the size of the head so I can get an idea of what that's going to look like. And then I'll print out the whole thing. I usually in Photoshop, for an image like this, I think it's 72 by 48, not bigger, 48. Whatever it is, I make an image file in Photoshop that's the size of the painting. Mm-hmm. And then I give myself guidelines with 8-inch, 16, 24, 32, and then 10, 20, 30, 40. And then I print out 8 by 10 sheets of paper, cut them all up, tape them together, and I have a permanent stencil. And then I use that to do my initial transfer. And I use Seral's carbon transfer paper. And then I make a painting. And depending on what it is, like the door here, I've already cut up my stencil a little bit. But like this signage here has a bunch of text on it. Mm-hmm. This is a clock.
Okay.
So
you'll re-stencil it.
I'll re-stencil it, but I'll cut out that piece of paper and just re-stencil it so it matches up as close as it can.
Right.
And I'm going back and forth between sometimes the stencil itself, but a lot of times smaller images. So I'm looking at it for what it is as a whole, and I'm not worried about the details, even though I want to get all the details in there. It looks more uniform that way. That makes sense.
Right.
And all these guns are pointed at somebody that's going to get executed.
Right.
But you wouldn't see that scene without the light source that's in the picture. You don't have that painting, and that's the most important part of that painting.
Dude, did you know that his name means cool breeze going over the mountains in Hawaiian? I think we're good.